You know, when we talk about a country's success, our minds usually jump to those big flashing numbers, right? Like GDP. But what if the real story, the true measure of progress, is how that growth actually touches every single person's life? Well, India's latest economic survey is putting forward a really interesting new idea, a path that's all about partnership and empowering people from the ground up. So let's get into it.
I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you make sure that economic growth doesn't just stay in the headlines, but actually reaches everyone? You know, from the most remote village to the busiest city. Well, we're about to break down the blueprint that's aiming to do exactly that.
Okay, so the big idea here, it's not just about tweaking a policy or launching some new program. No, what we're talking about is a fundamental shift in thinking. It's a complete reimagining of the whole relationship between the government and its citizens. And at the heart of this big shift is a concept called Bhagidari. Now, this isn't just some fancy new buzzword for public participation. The key difference here, and it's a big one, is moving away from a system where people are just, well, passive recipients of government aid to a new model where they become active partners in shaping their own future.
So let's break this down. On one side, you have the old model. It was pretty top-down, right? The government was the provider, and citizens were basically just waiting to receive things. But this new partnership model, it completely flips the script. We're talking about community-led solutions where people are the active partners. And the government's role, it changes from being the main provider to being an enabler, giving communities the tools and support they need to build their own success. Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, right? Partnership, community-led solutions, but what does this actually look like on the ground, in the real world? Well, let's dive into 3 really powerful stories that bring this whole partnership model to life.
Our first story starts with a massive number, 3 crore. That's 30 million. So what on earth does this huge figure represent? Here's a hint. It's not about how much money the government is spending. It's about the number of lives being fundamentally changed. That number, it's the goal of the Lakpati Didi program. The idea is to empower 30 million women in rural self-help groups so they can earn a steady income of over 1 lakh rupees a year. And this is a perfect example of that partnership model we were talking about. This isn't a handout. The government steps in as an enabler, right? Providing skills training and access to markets. But, and this is the crucial part, it's the women themselves who are driving their own success, and that creates this incredible ripple effect through the whole rural economy.
All right, our next story also kicks off with a number, 81%. And this one represents progress on something you could argue is even more fundamental than income. We're talking about access to clean water. This is all thanks to the Jal Jeevan mission, which has brought tap water to over 81% of rural households. But honestly, the story isn't just about turning on a tap. The real impact is what this infrastructure unlocks. Just think about this. It's estimated to save over 55 million hours of work every single day. That's time that was mostly spent by women just collecting water. Now, that time is freed up for education, for work, for family. It's a powerful example of how a simple investment can directly build up human capital and unlock massive economic potential. And for our third story, we're looking at a huge policy shift, a complete legislative reset, really. It's a total rethink of the country's massive Rural Employment Guarantee Program, and it signals a whole new way of looking at social safety nets.
You can really see the change in thinking right here. The old program, MGNRGA, was mainly focused on guaranteeing a certain number of workdays. Now the new proposed act doesn't just increase the number of days, it fundamentally shifts the focus. It's not just about providing temporary work anymore. The goal now is to use that labor to create lasting, climate-resilient infrastructure for the community. And that huge drop in demand for this kind of work, it's a pretty strong signal that the rural economy is getting healthier and more self-reliant.
So those examples really highlight the government's changing role as an enabler. But remember, a partnership is a two-way street, right? It's not just about what the government does. And this is where the survey introduces a really fascinating concept to describe the citizen's role in all of this.
It's a new idea called gross domestic behavior. And the concept is actually pretty simple but powerful. Think about it. Every time the government has to spend time and money enforcing basic rules, cleaning up litter, chasing down tax evaders, it eats up resources. But when citizens just voluntarily do the right thing, they are, in a way, co-producing the government's capacity. It frees up the state to focus on the really big strategic challenges.
So what does this actually look like in our daily lives? Well, it's the simple stuff, really. Respecting public spaces, paying your taxes honestly, maybe not wasting water, following traffic rules. Each one seems small on its own, but when millions of people do it together, it massively reduces the burden on the government and directly fuels the nation's progress.
All right, so let's zoom out for a second and connect all these dots. This new focus on partnership, on building up human capital, on this idea of civic duty, what's the end game? What's the ultimate goal here?
There's a quote from the survey that I think just perfectly sums up the entire philosophy. It says, "The state alone cannot pull the chariot of economic and social progress." I mean, that says it all, doesn't it? The vision is one of shared responsibility. Progress only happens when the state and its citizens are pulling in the same direction.
And this really lays out the roadmap, the path forward. It's a logical progression. You see? Step 1, you build the foundation. You empower your people through better health, education, and skills. Then, on top of that strong foundation, you build a culture of partnership, that Bhagidari, and civic duty. The survey argues that it's this strong social fabric that ultimately allows a nation to achieve its biggest long-term goals and become, strategically indispensable on the world stage.
And that leaves us with a final, pretty powerful question to think about. Maybe we've been looking at development backwards this whole time. What if the future of a nation's success isn't about what a government can provide for its people, but what it can empower its people to create for themselves?